my milestone is I'm not going to go buy a crystal tiger. It's I'm going to take 2 more hours out of my day to work less and now spend it having breakfast with my kid. And then as that continues to grow, it's like now it's not just breakfast. Now it's also like morning time cartoon, and then it's like nighttime bedtime or whatever. And so because I felt like I was cared for as an employee, like I wasn't just a cog that was like, oh, you make me money, and then if you get paid, you get paid. If not, too bad.
As the mental coaches, I might look for a better one. We'll see.
Oof. Oof. Damn. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the 1% Podcast. I'm your host, Vin, and that's my sick friend.
I am sick, not mentally, just actually sick. Sometimes mentally. I'm Shane.
That's Shane. He's sick. And today we're going to talk about how you can continue to build a powerful culture in your company through alignment of mission, vision, and value statements. Also, some key factors to really keep your employees incentivized, keep them motivated, keep them moving, because let's be honest, everybody needs a little bit of a carrot in front of them every now and then. You can't always just give the stick. Sometimes you do, and sometimes you got to give a carrot. And a lot of the times people don't know what the right carrot is. So we're going to give you a few of those today. Now, one thing I was talking about with Shane beforehand, and this is what we're going to get into before the really important conversation, is buying habits. Because I think it's very interesting. I was disclosing to Shane that I have a crystal tiger on my desk and a crystal bull on my desk. And those both are, they were about 1,000 each, but they're completely useless. 100%. Like, the only utility might be that they are on slabs of granite and I could probably beat someone to death with them, but that's about it. Other than that, the crystal would get shattered. It'd be completely useless. Now, they do retain value. However, I bought them more so because of the fact that I gave them a high emotional meaning. Like the tiger, I saw it when I was still working at a 9-to-5 job and I fell in love with it. But of course, we use logic to explain emotion. And so I fell in love with it, but I couldn't justify buying it. So I said, well, when I launch my business successfully, I will buy that tiger. Reason being is because the tiger is climbing upwards on a piece of granite. So it symbolizes upwards growth of my business. And the launch, the successful launch, so the upward trajectory. So I put all this emotion and story into my tiger. So I had to buy it. And then I saw the bull and I was like, damn, that thing is cool as hell. I need one of those, but I don't have any reason to buy it yet. So I said, I will buy this when my business does its first 6 figures, because it's going to show forward movement of the business, like the bull on Wall Street, right? The forward movement of the economy in my business. So I have these great semi-useless items that I just stare at day in and day out because of the fact that I fell in love with them emotionally and needed to justify why I bought them. And then what I found was very interesting about Shane is that he has no such emotion to anything that he buys. He just looks at it as like, I think I could flip this in the future. And it is nice and I like it. So Shane, tell me a little about your emotional detachment to items.
So I buy things on impulse, but they have to make sense to me. Like, as we know, as if you guys have been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that I'm an enthusiast of metals, of watches, of cars, and real estate. All stuff that holds tangible value that I could resell later. I don't think I've ever put a story or any emotional into anything, not even a car or anything like that. However, when you were talking about, when I get to this level, I'm going to get this. Not the same story. I never said when I become this or when I do get to this, I'm going to buy this. When I bought the Mercedes, when I got the G-Wagon, which I hate that analogy. This is terrible. Just call it the Mercedes G550. Anyways, when I got that, it was the first thing that I felt inside that I'm like, I've made it to a next level. I didn't buy it because I felt like I was going to get to it. But when I sat into it and when it became mine, I actually felt that I earned it, that this was my first luxurious thing due to my success. So
And
I don't
your
know
biggest tax write-off. There's still some logic in there.
right, which I'm now at this point actively looking to sell, which is kind of funny because that exact reason. I bought it mainly for a tax write-off, but when I got into it, I felt, that different feeling that maybe you're talking
Mm,
about here. But I can't
yeah.
buy anything, or I've never bought anything. And from my recollection, where it's like, I'm buying this, because I've reached this, or when I get to this, it's this, or I only bought this because of this meaning. I don't think I've ever done that.
Actually, I know we have this other topic slated to talk about today, but this conversation is actually spurring something that I think is really important that you and I have never touched upon, and this is something that I teach a lot of my business owner clients, is that there needs to be reward and success in your business. A lot of people get burnt out in business because they always work and then kind of save and then like, well, I'll get this thing later or I'll do this thing later or whatever the case is. And it's very interesting because human psychology is we're always moving towards what feels pleasurable and away from something that feels painful. And a lot of people get into business because there is a pleasurable component to it. It's like, I want to do this. I want to maybe make the world better or make my life better, or do whatever the case is. So you launch your business, but then you sacrifice so much because you have to. And that's the name of the game in business. And people forget that part of keeping the love and the passion and the pleasure alive in your business is actually giving yourself things that you want to achieve. Like launch your business. And when it's successfully taking off, go get that stupid tiger and then set a milestone. When you hit this in your business, go get this thing because it's going to bring you a form of joy. And then when you hit this next milestone, et cetera, because it always, and actually this is in alignment to what we're going to talk about later too, because it always is also moving those place markers for you. It's continuously giving you things to look forward to. It's continuously giving you some sort of object that you can work towards or something that you're going to feel excited about. And so it starts teaching you that business is actually enjoyable because after you work really hard, you actually get this great reward. Now, there are a lot of people that will go into business and they keep the scarcity mindset of like, I need to cut back, I need to sacrifice, which you do have to do. But if they continuously keep that, they actually start almost burning themselves out in their own business because all they do is they just keep hitting next levels, but still pulling back more and more and more and starting to make their business almost a cycle of pain as opposed to anything that ever derives them any type of pleasure. And so I actually think it's really important to add some sort of milestones and pleasure marks within your business as you succeed and as you hit milestones and goals and achievements that you're looking to hit.
Yes, I don't agree with the physical aspect of it, though.
Doesn't have to be something physical. You can
Right.
go take a vacation, you
Right.
could do whatever.
And I would definitely say I do that.
Yeah.
So I think my aspirations, because it really comes down for motivation purposely, is family. I think
Mm,
that's the number one thing that drives me is like, as soon as you become family, it's no longer like selfish intentions. So I don't see that's the thing. I never like, oh, when I get to this level, I'm going to take them onto a nice vacation. I don't associate that. It's weird. I just don't think that. I only think of getting something to the next place. How am I going to do that? Okay, I've reached this. All right. So now the business is more profitable. So now what can we do with this aspect? Well, we can either grow the company or I could spend more time with the family, right? Time's the most valuable commodity that we have. So that is a huge goal to work towards. So I think that personally is probably something that I admire the most and want the most is time, more
yeah.
time.
Well, and I believe you've done that, right? Because you've actually made it from what I know about you is that every time you've hit a new level in your business, you figured out a way to delegate that process that helped you guys scale up, which actually got you more time back, made the business more money, more successful, and then you're able to actually take your time and now spend it with your family. And like now you have your routines at home and your schedules with your kids and your wife, and like you've become actually more intentional. So honestly, whether you realize it or not, you did do that. Like every
Yeah.
time you hit a milestone, you transition it to my milestone is I'm not going to go buy a crystal tiger. It's I'm going to take 2 more hours out of my day to work less and now spend it having breakfast with my kid. And then as that continues to grow, it's like now it's not just breakfast. Now it's also like morning time cartoon. And then it's like nighttime bedtime or
Mhm.
whatever. And so you've created those pleasure moments very intentionally, but also possibly unintentionally. And you've done it successfully. You've done it the right way. And that's the biggest thing any business owner should look to do. It doesn't have to be about something physical. It's just what is the thing you're really working towards and make sure like you give yourself it and you reward it. Like don't hit that milestone and then not delegate it out and then not spend time with your family because that's actually what you've been working for. And that's why a lot of business owners get miserable and they get burnt out, because the thing they work for, they could finally do it, but then they don't, because they're like, but wait, but if I still sacrifice, I could get to this next level a little faster. And it's like, that's not worth it. And you actually won't get there faster, because if you burn out, you're going to significantly slow down, which is going to take away from the growth process.
Those are my crystal tigers, man. Yeah,
Hell yeah.
absolutely.
I
Um,
love that.
I think that's kind of what we preach here in the VA group, anyways. Is spending time with the family, and still having that as the crucial element, which is why every single one of my employees, there is no physical center in the VA group outside of some prospecting centers, is they stay at home. They're able to work at home. They're able to be with their family, their kids, their loved ones. They do their job to what the client needs them to do or what we need them to do, and that's it. It's a beautiful marriage between the two. So
Yeah, I love it. And that's actually the perfect segue into building company culture. Because what it sounds like to me is the same thing that I think is extremely important for every company, is having good mission, vision, and value statements that everyone can get behind, understand, and really embody. Because that's how you grow a company. It's not just about having a bunch of individuals sitting there not knowing anything about why the company's there, where it's trying to build, and what it's about. It's about everybody actually knowing what they're getting themselves into and asking themselves the individual question of, is this something that feels aligned to me? Because then I want to be a part of it. And if you as an employee want to be a part of it, you're going to do a lot more for your company. You're going to actually feel not only that you care about your company and have some duty towards it, but you're going to feel that it also responds and gives you that too, because you're in alignment with the mission, vision, and values. And so now what you do is you actually create a very powerful culture, one that outlasts the clock, one that people maybe don't just punch out on the dot because they hate it and they can't wait to get home, one that maybe they do stay on and do extra activities or talk to extra people or do another level of service because they're proud of what they're representing. And I think in today's society, we have so many people complaining and moaning about, oh, I did this and I hate my boss and my job sucks and the schedule sucks and this and that. And my question always would be, did you see if you and that company had aligned mission, vision, and values? And I think if you really get to the root of it, most of the time the answer is going to be no. Because the company wants somebody that's going to work 40 hours and not complain. You want to be in a company that's going to let you work from home and be home with your family and not come into the office. Obviously, you're both going to be complaining about each other. Find the right industry.
I think that's really what it comes down to, is every single company has a different culture. At the end of the day, and I hate to say it so bluntly, but having a 9 to 5
I
and
don't think you do.
being put into that position, it's really about money and benefits to every single individual, right? Is this going to allow me to make enough money to support my family? Is this going to give me the benefits that I need to support my family? Is this going to give me enough freedom or time to spend with my friends and family? Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So I
Mm,
think combining those elements is very, very crucial. The company vision, the milestones, the growth, the value and mission statements are important, especially to my back end team, as we all have to visualize and be on the same page. But for my company specifically, when they work with other clients, it's almost they have to, and which you have my VAs, it's almost you have to train and transition them to your business,
mm,
right? I'm the middleman. All I need to do is provide you the best possible candidates out there. It's your job to train them, to make sure that they're, on the same page with you. And they're like, are we going to be on the same page?
right.
So for me specifically, I spend most of my time, which is why we spend 4 times over minimum wage, give benefits, and treat them fairly, and obviously have them work from home, because I think those are the most crucial elements that I can give them, that I can give anybody, which is also why we have low churn rate with our employees.
Mm,
And when you find that and you treat them fairly, they'll break your back for you. I mean, break their back for you, not my back. They'll break their back. And that's exactly what clients want too. It's so hard to find good, workers these days. Somebody that's going to work a true solid 8 hours without you constantly on their back saying, "What are you doing? Where are you at?
mm,
What are you working on?" I'd much rather have somebody giving me updates and saying, "Hey, this is what I'm working on. These are the results that I've gotten. How would you like me to transition?" Or, "Hey, I'm working on this next. Let me know if you, need me to do anything different." This is
Right.
how it should be.
And it's interesting because I always talk about that one story that I have from the VA that I have from you is that time that there was a tropical storm and her home lost power and she checked into the hotel to work. And then even while she was in the hotel lost power, and then she apologized that she couldn't work. And that honestly, that's not something I feel like I would see from like any 9 to 5 employee that I've
No way.
I've met in
No way.
recent times.
Especially in the U.S., right?
Yeah. Not at
Yeah,
all. You kidding me? If it was just a little bit rainy and they thought their car would slip, they'd probably call out of
absolutely.
work. You know,
Absolutely. If
that's
my power was out and I was at work at home position, like I'm texting my boss, like even me, my power's out. Like, what do you want me to do? Starbucks isn't even coming to my mind. Like, that's an
yeah.
option. You want me to go to Starbucks and you want me to work
In,
there?
in a tropical storm.
Yeah, right. 105 degrees. It's humidity and there's maelstroms going on outside. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
But that's my point. Is these workers that we have are just phenomenal. They're and I feel like I'm selling the VA group at this point, but they really are because I think their cultures are different though. Like their
Mm,
the whole work ethic, mindset, even their religious culture. They're just so family embedded, like it used to be, even for the United States, that you don't see much.
mm. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's funny because you said the word family. A lot of companies like to say we're a family here, but they don't know what the hell that means, right? Like they'll be like, "Hey, we're at this company, we're a family." And then, okay, well, what does that mean? It's like, well, let me tell you what it actually means. It means we're going to talk about you behind your back. It means we're constantly going to criticize you and think your work is subpar. It means you're going to feel like you hate us and we hate you. We're going to occasionally throw a pizza party to make it all better. And then we'll also complain when you try to take your vacation. That's a family. And then my question is like, well, what are you, an Italian family? Because
Forget about it.
forget
That's
about it. But
my
that's the interesting thing. Because what does family actually mean? Family is, in my opinion, family is a group of people that really value each other. Like I don't really care about living in New York anymore. Like I don't want to be here. I want to go somewhere else. Not entirely sure where I want to go. I just know Shane's like, I'm not coming to Vegas, man. That's obviously. But but like I wanna I'm a guy who likes the solitude, honestly. Like I would like to live in the middle of nowhere, like in the mountains, in the woods, somewhere where I could just go hiking in the middle of the day. Like that's kind of my ideal peace of life. And the reason I don't do that though is because of the fact that I have my parents that live 10 minutes from me. And I see them 3 to 4 times a week, maybe every week, and they help out with my daughter. And even if they didn't, I have this desire to not be further than like a 10-minute drive from my parents because I really value my parents. I value my family. I value that relationship. And of course, I want to be as close as I can. I don't want to just see my parents on Thanksgiving and Christmas like some people do. And listen, I'm not trying to take a hit on those people. I understand that, honestly, I wish I had that capability. I do. I wish I had the capability to sit there and be like, you know what? I want to do this for me and my family, and I'm just going to uplift. And like, if I see my parents on Christmas and Thanksgiving, that's fine. But that's literally just not enough for me. But to me, that's what I look at as like, how do we get that freaking value in a company? How do we get that to a place where people feel so loyal, so loving, and so cared for that they cannot even imagine what it would be like to play the field?
you know
And yeah, go ahead.
I just feel that for somebody who has tons and tons of employees and directors and leadership, for me personally, you can't have a family. You can't.
Mm,
You can have, a very well oiled machine, but if something breaks, if something's, a better part comes in, you have to change it out. You have to. This whole business, it's a business and it's growing, right? And when you see family owned businesses, what do they get taken out by?
mm,
Corporations, something that's a well oiled machine. In theory, I mean, trust me, when I first started the company and I had 25 employees, maybe it was 50, something around those lines. Our director said, it's a family here. It's a family. I said, you need to take that out. It's not. It's not a family. Because the moment that people get lackadaisical, the moment that people get comfortable, the moment that people's mind stops adapting and evolving and they just start doing their day to day jobs, is the moment that they get replaced. Because I, especially my directors, I have 10 directors. The moment that they start to stop growing a certain process is the moment I start bleeding, is the moment that their department starts bleeding. And then a moment of change needs to happen. So, in theory, I think it sounds great to have it on there, but unfortunately, it's not like that. Do I respect my directors and my back end team and my employees? Absolutely. Do I keep a safe distance, from them? Yeah, absolutely, as you should. Do I know about, their family and what's going on in their lives? To a degree, yes. So there's a difference between, being friendly and being friends. And you have to have that separation, in my opinion, to have a successful company. Otherwise, I can't fire friends, right? Without any sort of negative connotation. Can't be like that. So we set the
Yeah.
tone right off the bat that this is a great company with good benefits, with great pay, with good hours, and you can have time with your family and friends. And that's what we sell there. But we don't sell that we're a family.
The interesting thing is that one, I don't disagree with you. And two, I think that you and I similarly are describing the same thing, but just with a different terminology. Because the reality is, nobody will kill themselves for a machine.
Right.
You don't have great employees because of the fact that you have a well-oiled machine. I mean, you do, but you also don't because they see there's a loyalty to you. There's a loyalty to the VA group. They want to stay a part of that. And let me ask you something. If one of your directors had a family emergency, would you tell them you're fired or would you let them take off?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you see what I'm saying is like we might call it different things, but my understanding is virtually the same as yours. Yes, you're supposed to build a well-oiled machine, but I think the aspect in my mind, and maybe it's just about pulling attributes, not necessarily having a family, but pulling attributes of family. I think that family inspires loyalty. I think that family inspires that you want to take care of one another to some degree, right? It's not saying that you're going to let people get lazy and lackadaisical and you're not going to find these ways that like all right if something better has to happen for the business we can't do it. I think it's just about understanding that there's like an aspect of heart and a loyalty that needs to be within a business because if you don't have that it starts becoming an issue in my opinion, right? Like you can't have people that are going to kill themselves when they know they're completely and utterly replaceable. Now even if they know that they're replaceable, as long as they know that they are loyal and they're caring and they really show up and do their best effort and they give their best effort. And I'm not talking about give their best effort, but they suck. I'm talking about give their best effort and they're good at it. They know that they have a job. That's like a safety and a security. That is almost the feeling of a family. Like I had a boss who was such a good boss to me. He I was a personal trainer at the gym. And, don't get me wrong, we went out to lunch and we went out to dinner, right? Like that was cool. We had meetings and we did all that stuff. And that's the extra mile that I know you don't do in your business. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But there was some reason that I stayed in the personal training job, even after I was like, I'm pretty much over this job. And the reason I stayed there was because he was such a great boss. Like if somebody paid for a package of 20 sessions and only used two, he still paid me out the other 18. He would give me what was owed because I landed that sale. And even if that guy never came back, he didn't just keep the money and say, well, we have to honor the sessions. He was like, hey, man, you signed this 20 pack. Here's your payout for it. Like, do whatever you want to do with it. Do whatever you should do with it. Like, this is your money. You've earned that. You closed that deal. You worked with that guy. Don't worry about it. And that actually gave me more loyalty to him than or than the time he took me out to lunch because I felt like I was cared for as an employee. Like I wasn't just a cog that was like, oh, you make me money. And then if you get paid, you get paid. If not, too bad. He was like, hey, I actually see what you've done here. I see the effort you've put in. I want to recognize that. I want to make you understand. I care about the effort and work you've put into this company to help me because I am the boss and I get a cut of everything you do. He's like, and here's what you've earned. And so I think that's what I'm trying to talk about. Maybe family is the wrong phrasing or the right phrasing, but I look at those as family values because you want to take care of the people that are helping you, right? And that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I incentivize my team with lunch and spiffs at least once or twice a month. And that's really what it comes down to. It's money, it's time, it's freedom. That's what people want. Eventually you left him, you left and did your own thing.
Hmm.
because you found a better opportunity for yourself that included more time, more
Hmm.
freedom, more money, better benefits. That's really what it's all comes down to. However, treating, people with respect and as an equal, they'll love that absolutely.
Of course.
But for people that don't, like even on a hard week, I've had my team and, all we'll have our quarterly reviews and then I'll see a process or something wasn't done right and I'll talk to the director and it can get pretty heated, right? Not as
Yeah.
far as, disrespectful or anything that shouldn't have been said, but if someone wasn't doing their job, I'm going to tell them they weren't doing their job. And then if I see them putting things into fruition and getting things back, I see the hard work. Rewarding with lunch is goes above and beyond with everything. I
Of
mean,
course.
it's crazy how far something like that goes. Like it's just a token of appreciation. It's just the sign of respect.
And I think that's the big thing is that people, a lot of business owners are, what is that old saying, right? It's like penny wise and dollar foolish. So
Hmm.
it's like, well, I'm not going to go spend $200 on lunch for my
Right,
company because why would I do that?
right.
That impacts my bottom line. And it's like, okay, but you make your employees feel so good, they
Your
will
morale.
probably make you $10,000 from that
Absolutely.
200,
Right.
right? And so I think a lot of business owners are just very, some of them get even egotistical. It's like you work for me, and it's like, you know what? If you have zero employees, you don't even have a business. The
Right.
arrogance that carries over of some of these people that have made it to the top is astounding because the realization is like, and I know it's unlikely, even in very toxic work cultures, that everyone would walk out in the snap of a finger. But if that actually happened, like if everybody stood in solidarity and they were like, you know what, you're a crappy boss and we all hate you, and you had 300 employees walk out of your company at once, you're done. You're crippled. Your business mostly over, if not entirely.
Right.
And why people let those bosses get away with it is because, well, they need their jobs, right? And they're in a hard situation in life, and maybe they have debt or they have bills they have to pay off, and they can't just leave, which they rightfully should. And so then they get stuck. But the sentiment is always the same: is like, without employees, you're a one person man in a startup in your basement, and you have
Amen.
nothing. And so you should always treat your employees as if not that they work for you, but you work for them,
Amen.
and you guys have this synergistic relationship because you want your company to grow, and you want these people to really feel valued, and by making them feel valued you're increasing productivity. Shane, I am also curious, what what would you say is some of the best or biggest things that you do to help incentivize your employees? You did say that you do lunch. What are some of the other things you do in your companies that maybe some of our listeners could start doing and applying to their own companies to get some good results with their people?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we have reached over. I think we just hit 550 as far as how many employees we have. We do a really cool thing that we started last year, where we do a President's Club, and this is once a year. My team and all my directors will fly out. I think this year it's 30 of our top employees, and we rank our employees by attendance, by customer testimonial reviews, if they've added on any virtual assistants, upgraded their time, just give glowing reviews. Their managers, our CSM says their communication is great. It's a whole platform of what we grade these virtual assistants on. And what we do is we give them very nice plaques. We give them rewards with, iPads and iPods and or iPods, the headphones and spiffs and everything. On top of that, it's
What
an
what's a spiff for those who don't know?
a spiff is a one-time bonus, so it's not like a yearly raise. So $100, like Happy Friday, here's $100 gift card, something like that. And then the whole President's Club is to celebrate these virtual assistants. So I hire a videographer to tape the whole thing. You can go on the VA group Instagram and you can watch the last one. It's awesome. It's a fully catered with alcohol venue. All my employees are over 21 to behave in a respectable fashion. But we put a DJ in there as well so they can have fun. We make the whole ceremony about the virtual assistants. So, we'll get some back end stories about them. But essentially, we do this whole big event. And this next one's going to be in June. We plan it for 3 months. and we fly them all out to this venue, or we pay for their travel, we pay for their hotel, and we just make it just a huge, exciting thing. We call it the President's Club. So it's just the top of the top, cream of the cream, cream of the crop, virtual assistants. So I
Nice.
think once we've reached to that certain level, it's just that level of excitement, that level of appreciation that, we give to our virtual assistants. And yeah, we just want them to have fun. On top of that, for my back end team, monthly lunches are always a big thing. We do fun little events too. Like for the month of June and July, we're doing healthy eating for the next 2 months, right? Getting our summer bods. That's the whole thing. It's, in a fun way. So I offer some incentives, some small fun prizes. We organize and cater to different teams where, they'll choose a team of four with a team captain, and they'll do like daily check-ins with their team and to help get them on top of losing weight and eating right, as long as it's done in a respectable manner. And they love it, right? We try to do something every quarter, something that's fun to keep morale going, because we know at the end of the day, it's your day-to-day job. We know it's especially lonely being in an at-home environment. Yes, you're still with your family, but we try to make it as fun and festive as we can.
Mm,
So yeah, lunches are great, spiffs are great. If you're a good organization size, something like me that's work from home, or even a company, something like President's Club or something around those lines, where you're taking your team out to dinner, great things, and they love that. It's memories. They're not going to leave you for a job that pays, $1,000 more or whatever it is, for a culture, which is, I think, the word we're looking for, that's been established and you continue to establish.
yeah. I mean, that's awesome, man. I hear at the next President's Club, Shane is going to have a really great mental performance coach give a motivational speech and really ramp up his VAs even further. So
The
that's
uh,
exciting.
the unfortunate thing, as my team knows very well, is I've never been to the Philippines. So shocking that I'm able to grow this entire organization without ever being to the Philippines. So I've yet to make a president's club, and that's due to my kids. Right, my kids are 3 and 6 months now. So I was like, okay, great. Hiram's going to be 3. I'll go to the next one, and my daughter's born.
Mhm.
So I want to make sure that my wife's able to attend with me, but I'm not taking, a 6 month old on a 14-hour plane ride. So,
That's
but
fair.
yes,
I was talking about me being the
I know
speaker,
you
not
were.
you.
I know. I was getting to that. I just wanted to make that funny. No, as far as the mental coaches, I might look for a better one. We'll see
Oof.
about.
Oof. Damn.
I'm
That's
just playing. You're the best, buddy.
Shane's sassy. I'm gonna nickname him. Future episodes will be recorded by your host Ben and Sassy Shane.
Sassy shade. Sassy
Um,
six shade. Yeah.
Dude, that's it, man. Triple S, the triple S
No,
threat.
you're the best in the business, buddy.
I appreciate you, my man. And your next President's Club, I'll do it for free. I'll go ahead and ramp up your VAs and just go there and have a great time. I love your company. I love what you built, and I'm always appreciative and happy to support you.
Are you going on my dime or your dime? I forget which one.
Like I said, I'll go for free, which
Oh
means
yeah,
which
okay.
means I go for free.
Right. That's what I thought. Yeah, can't
I'll
wait
iron
to.
out the details for next year. Don't worry about it.
You're just gonna send me the bill.
I only fly first class, just so you know.
There's 10 grand out of my pocket.
But the ROI, Shane, the ROI.
I'll think about that next time.
I love it though. I mean, everyone, I hope you guys took some great notes because Shane really does like. It's fascinating what he's been able to build by not even being in the same freaking room. That's probably the biggest and most fascinating part. If you go back and you just listen to the other episodes, you go back and listen to this episode again because after he gave all the great info, he was like, "Oh, and by the way, I've never even been there." So these are the things that, people will tell you, oh, it's not possible. It's not possible to build a successful company if you don't force people to work 9 to 5s in the office every single day, commute for 3 hours and hate their lives. It's very possible, but it requires a lot of effort. It requires a lot of understanding. It requires proper culture being built. It requires alignment on mission, vision, and value statements. It requires incentive. It requires care and concern from both sides. It requires loyalty. There's a lot that goes into building a successful business. There's a few other things that I think we should talk to. And then Shane's pointing to his little chart there. And for those of you that are not watching this video, it is the harder you work, the more luck you'll have. Shane loves his quotes, and as do I. And that's true. because luck is really just an opportunity that comes up from consistent effort over and over and over, right? Which is the
Hmm.
consistency. So there's one other thing that I'll add in is I've seen a lot of research, I've seen a lot of study around this, and Shane and I were talking about this before. And one of the things we've also discussed is that it works for certain cultures and certain environments. Depending on the culture or the environment that you've built or you want to build, it's about understanding how the people need to work in it. So some research has come out, for instance, like a lot of companies will go to this old model of, hey, we're going to have a sales goal and the top performer is going to get this trip to Hawaii. And it's like, great, everybody's motivated in the moment. But then what winds up happening is after the competition's over, the guy who won the Hawaii trip is ecstatic, everybody else is demotivated, and people start working a lot less. They don't really care as much because now they were just busting their freaking ass. They probably burnt out trying to get that Hawaii trip. And now they really don't have much in the tank. And they're like, well, there's no incentive to work super hard anymore. So what you actually see through a lot of this research is these crazy ups and downs in performance with people in these organizations. And so, one thing that is a great and helpful suggestion, again, depending on your culture, is perhaps implementing a company wide initiative. Don't give a one trip, a Hawaii trip to one person. Give a, I don't know, maybe a mini trip to an entire department or a team, or even plan something that the whole company can have. Like, hey, if the company hits this goal, we're going to host an event. I have a friend actually that works at a hedge fund. The boss, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a hedge fund, right? So finances are very different. But the boss literally buys every employee tickets, hotels, and pays for everything for all of them in the company to go to Disney World. Like that is another level of money, right? That's entirely different on a scale that most people never see or understand. So I'm not saying you have to do something like that, but you could do something smaller scale. And you could have a whole company wide initiative where maybe the company rents out a venue like the President's Club, right? Hey guys, if we hit these goals, we're going to rent out this venue. It's going to be an event. We're going to have someone come in and do meditation. We'll have a motivational speaker come in. You guys will get like this, that, and the other thing, whatever. And you could do this. And why that winds up really helping out companies in a great way is because you have people that are performing higher actually want to help out people that are performing at a lower capacity. Because now it's not like, oh, if I close 100 deals, I'm going to Hawaii. Now it's like, as long as we hit this as a company. And then what winds up happening is the person that's a top producer is still going to be a top producer, but now he's actually also going to reach down and he's going to want to help the people that are producing, just not as great. And what that does is now he's actually going to teach and he's going to mentor and he's going to support because he knows he can't make 1,000 sales, but he knows that he could be a top producer and then he could help other people also optimize their process, which now starts to bring up everyone's work. And what's really cool about that is that after that experience happens, everyone's still motivated because now everyone won and everyone's continuing to put in the effort and everyone also has grown and learned because most likely there's a new element of teamwork where everybody's supporting one another. It's like, hey man, listen, I'm having trouble closing this deal. Could you help me? Instead of the top sales guy saying, screw off, I need that Hawaii trip, he'll be like, dude, yeah, let me help you. Let me tell you like what's currently going on, or let me listen to your call or whatever the case. And now you have this great dynamic that's feeding into one another where everyone's supporting, growing, and now obviously there's a greater ROI in that end too. So it really does depend on your industry, your culture, how you want to build. Maybe it's more about the individual experience, maybe it's more about the company experience, but you also need to determine that as a business owner, a company, or whatever your role is, whoever's listening. If you're like a C suite level executive, if you're a director level, is this something you think would benefit your organization? Is it something that you think your higher ups would be interested in? These are all factors that have to be accounted for. And Shane and I won't know what the answer is for your specific industry, but these are the multiple ways that you can start supporting growing your business.
Yeah, I definitely think you're spot on for the different industry aspects. I think what you're describing isn't sales reps, though. In a nutshell. For example, your hedge fund guys, I wouldn't consider them sales reps. Yes, they're selling them on the company, but their main background, I presume, is some sort of financial accounting background, something around those lines. So it's almost like they're kind of just selling the company, and it's like, this is what it's going to do for you. I guess it still sounds like a sales rep in theory, but
Well,
there's
yeah,
variation.
it
So
is. It is.
that's what
So
I'm getting.
a lot of these hedge funds, and I work in a few of them, they actually have full sales teams. because you're basically convincing people like, hey, listen,
Give
we
me
do
your money.
great. Here's our numbers. Give us $10 million so we could play around with it. Like, here's what our ROIs are looking at. And you're still selling to some degree.
Sure. So what I'm getting up from this analogy is sales is a dog eat dog world. It
Mm,
really is. It's always results driven, you know. And as a business owner, I only want the best of the best. And it's the same thing with the prospectors. However, there needs to be certain levels of certain things. So you have your sales reps, you have your trainers, you have your managers, you have your directors. So when somebody is asking for help and improvements, it's not just about cutting them and letting them go. It's about training them on the proper way of doing things and then them taking that training and implementing it to get better. And if they don't take that and they don't get better, then you start seeing a similar process and you let them go. Sales can be trained. It's not a gene. You know, as much as I like to think it's a gene because I've seen great salesmen and I haven't seen great salesmen, specifically in sales, it can be trained. It really can. It's up
mm,
to the person to take that training and use it. That's really what it comes down to. Now, as far as incentivizations, you're absolutely right. You need to incentivize your team on a monthly basis. Why else would I want to work so hard? That Hawaii trip is fine, but next month I want to win a free iPad. It could be something smaller. The next month, I want a $500 cash reward. The month after that, now that it's been 3 months, I want to, have $1,000 meal with me plus one with my wife and all expenses paid. Like I want something like that. You need to have monthly incentives, on top of the regular quota and commission to drive that extra fuel. I absolutely agree with that.
mm.
Group incentivizations for sales, like, hey, if the team gets to this, it can't be in a sales aspect. Like for my back end team knows that, hey, when we get to X amount of clients, I'm going to be doing this, this, and this. But they're not sales related. So
Mm.
that means what their job is about churn, right?
Yep.
They need to keep unhappy clients. How do we do that? By training them on figuring out what's wrong, and by solving that issue and by making an unhappy client a happy client and calling it a day. That's what's very important to a business owner. For back end, for front end, it's numbers, 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 numbers. That's how it always is. Sales guys, no matter who you talk to, is motivated by money. That's how it always is.
Yep.
Right? They always want more, manja, 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 manja. They want more. They do, which
Right.
is good. That's the mentality you want as a salesman. You want to get to that next level. And by them thinking this level, this dollar amount is going to get me to the next level, great. Let's keep it rolling. But
Yeah.
I only want sharks in my industry, and specifically selling for me.
I feel that. And that's, and that to Shane's point, that's why it's very important to just understand what your industry is, what your culture is, what the team is that you're building, what the company is that you're building. All of these things need to be considered. There is no one size fits all. And the people that are doing the one size fits all is why they get diminishing results, because they didn't care to learn about their employees. You have to understand what your employees need, what they want, who they are, why they're there. Like
Amen.
all of these things, all these nitty gritties, you do that, you're going to build a very powerful company. So, guys, we'll wrap it here. Thank you very much for joining us again. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a review, tell it to a friend, send it to a friend, leave us a question, a comment, a concern. Let us know what you're thinking, what you're not thinking. And if there's anything that we could do to help you, please reach out, DMs, emails, Instagram, all of it. All of it's helpful, and we look forward to hearing from all of you. So until next time, I'm Vin.
I'm Shane. See you guys.